time, the inspiration I get for doing these kitbashes comes from lots of different places. Now, during my run up to looking at the kitbashes I was going to try and do in support of the Models for Heroes charity, I was looking through lots of conversion and kitbash groups on Facebook and Instagram. And it was during that time that an advert come up onto my feed from a mobile RPG game. Now, I haven't downloaded and played this game myself, but the advert contained an image of a striking female character that I thought would really lend itself to some kind of alternative Sister of Battle, or maybe even a female Inquisitor. And when I pitched the idea to the friends we have on the Odd-Sided Dice Podcast YouTube channel, they agreed that this is the build that they would like to have seen next. So here we go. The base for this model is going to be the female character from the original Warhammer Underworlds. The one that come in the 3-strong Sigmarite team, and it's just been basically languishing in my kit box ever since I got that set. One of the good things that's happened with these Sigmarite models is that it's given rise to a lot of strong female characters that we can use, convert and kitbash into models that we would like to use amongst our armies or as individual characters. Also, the armour and the more squarish pauldrons that the model have really tied into the aesthetic of the image from the mobile game that I'm going to be using as inspiration. But the first thing I have to do, as this model is going to be more aimed towards a sci-fi background, is I want to remove as much of the fantasy iconography and weaponry as I can. Luckily, because this is a push kit model, it's very easy to have the kit in the various parts of disassembly and remove the bits that you want to remove a little bit easier from the model, using a combination of a good pair of side cutters and a very sharp hobby blade. A lot of the areas from which I'm removing material from the donor model, it will be covered by various other pieces of equipment that I'm going to beg, steal and borrow from other kits in my kitbash collection. So having to get all the material removed and get it as smooth and as sharp as possible is not really a main concern with this build, but it's something that I'm going to do anyway, because of the completionist in me, that I know that the various bits were there, even though they're hidden under other things. Now, there's nothing better for this job than a very sharp hobby blade. It's one of the consumables that I really recommend that everyone gets hold of, and change your blade as often as possible. They're very cheap and you can find multiple places on various sellers where you could pick up a lot of these blades for quite a reasonable cost. And then the only addition is a small little nail board that I use, which has the 2 levels of gritted sandpaper on either side to just finish off and tidy up the model. Now, the main part of the conversion I'm going to make is going to be a hand swap on both sides. Now, I wanted this cut to be as refined as possible, so instead of using my hobby cutters, I went and removed the hand with the sharp hobby blade. Made a bit more of a precise cut, and as such didn't require as much tidying up with a file. One of the good things about using these Sigmarite bodies is they scale quite well with older Space Marine parts. So this is what we're going to use for the blade that we're going to use for this model. Now, the one problem with this is it's being held with 2 hands. So what I'm going to do is remove one of the hands and then at that cut make a replacement of a pommel that I'm going to steal from another bit from my kit box. Now, I was going to make the handle on this sword quite long, but you can see on the actual handle there's quite a pronounced ridge about halfway down the hilt, So this makes a perfect position to be able to cut through this hilt and remove the excess hand that I don't want. Now, because I'm going to be using a similar plastic, all I have to do with this cut is now get out again a couple of files or that emery nail board and just try and make that cut as clean as possible. So when I do glue the two pieces together, I get a nice straight fit. Now the part I'm going to use for the hilt is from this stave that looks very Necron in build, but I'm pretty sure it didn't come from a Necron kit. In fact, I think I picked up this part the last time I was at the UK Games Expo in 2019. And it is expos like that, when you try out the games on offer, that a lot of the time you get little freebie gifts. And sometimes it's sprues of model parts, which is always a good thing to have, because it adds to the available collection you've got in your kit box. Now obviously we're all hoping to return to these expos when we get a chance in 2021, hopefully. So it's a good idea to make your way around these different booths and these different games and have a look at what people have got to offer. So after joining the two parts on the sword, which now completes the hilt of the blade, it's just again looking to make sure you're happy with the final positioning of the hand before we go ahead and glue it into place. I realised when I got this part now ready that if I glue this into place, it's going to get it in the way of some of the work that I wanted to do. So I wanted to make sure I completed both hand swaps and glue them to the model at the same time. It just makes it easier that I'm not going to knock one part out of position and end up doing it 3 or 4 times when I can just wait a little bit and just glue them at the same time. Now in this offside hand, our model is going to be carrying around some kind of book, some kind of lore, some kind of tome. So as such, I'm going to make use of another marine hand, this again from an older kit. And this hand would have been used when holding the front end of some kind of bolter or weapon. It just gives us a good open-handed feel to be able to put another item for carrying in the hand. Now because the plastics we are using here are both GW plastics, I'm going to, for pretty much all the connections I'm going to make on this model, I'm going to be using the straight plastic glue. This is obviously going to have the added benefit of this model of causing the two bits of plastic that we are joining together actually melting and fusing in a more solid connection. So it removes the requirement for maybe pinning these parts into place that we maybe would have had to do if we'd employed super glue instead. The next stage I wanted to do was some gap filling. I'm going to use green stuff for this. And for this I'm going to use these nylon sculptors that again are from a cheap hobby store. No need to buy expensive pieces of equipment if you can find something that does the job for a slightly lower value. And what we're going to do, we're going to fill in the shoulder pauldron areas to remove the main join line that's down the middle. Now for this I use a bit of green stuff that I've left sitting for about half an hour. So it's the curing process for the green stuff has started a little bit. So it's a little bit firmer than newly mixed green stuff together. This is going to help when I try and smooth it out using the clay shapers that I'm going to use. Now whenever you're working with green stuff, basically you don't want the green stuff to either stick to your fingers or stick to the tools that you're using to try and smooth it out or move it into the positions you want to do. So one of the easiest way you can combat this is always to dampen the end of the tool you're using, because this moisture barrier would make sure that the green stuff doesn't actually stick to anything you don't want it to stick to. And also, because green stuff is slightly water soluble, this dampness allows you to get smooth finish as possible that you can do with just a small amount of pressure across the surface, and also to work around it to make sure you allow the piece that you're putting in to mimic the area that you're trying to cover. Now, to get the green stuff in position, you don't need a lot of pressure on this clay brush. Smaller pressured movements and more of these movements would serve you better in being able to get the piece where you want it to be and as smooth as you want it to be. Now, don't feel bad if you can't get various nicks or various surfaces as smooth as you want them, because always what you can do when the green stuff has become completely hard, you can go over it with a file, one of those emery boards with a slightly lower grit sandpaper, or even some wet and dry sandpaper, because if you wet the sandpaper, it causes the actual grit on the sandpaper to act a lot more fine than what it normally does when it's dry. So we can always address slight blemishes a little bit later on. Now, I always try, when I get the basic shape and get the smoothness I want, to try and draw the green stuff towards an edge where I can make a more accurate cut to cut away the excess. So you can see here I'm pulling the green stuff basically with the shaping tool up towards the neck or up towards the top of the pauldron, where eventually I could get my hobby knife in, follow the cut of the pauldron round and remove the excess green stuff that I don't want as part of the shoulder pauldron. Once I've got this finished, it's now time to look at the head. Now, although GW do a number of female heads, there was nothing that I really wanted to use. But I go to statuesque miniatures because they do a really good range of different sized heroic and true scale heads. The benefit of their website is that they often show different models from different ranges with their heads attached, so you can make an accurate assumption about which size from the range that you want to purchase. Now, the head I chose was one of the ones which come with the option of an additional ponytail, but the ponytail was a bit too small. So what I've done is taken the back plume off one of the Corvus Cabal kits, and this is going to give me a bit more of a heroic hairstyle for this model. Now, the problem with this was that the joint is going to be quite weak if I just join the two parts together. So you can see from the model I've decided to stick a small pin into the back of the head, and I've also drilled a hole into the ponytail section. This helps the strength of the joint, and again, because I'm joining plastic to the white metal that the statuesque heads are supplied in, it gives me a lot more solid of a joint. You can also see that just before this stage I've decided to glue all the pouches and various bits of other paraphernalia to the model, because again, like you all know in these videos, I always do my heads last. So now it's a case of just tying the model in with a coat of primer, and here it is, our finished alternative sister or female Inquisitor. Again, this model is going to be available for eBay, and the link to the sale and the auction will be posted in the description below the video. If you'd like to support the builds that we do and the charity, please consider using our Kofi link that's in the description below as well. Or if you refer to our first video from 2021, you might find out other ways that you could help with these charity kit bashes that we're creating throughout the year. Hopefully this model will be something that a lot of you would like and would really build on the success of our last charity kit bash. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next bash.